Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Bitwave Quick Hit. All right, Pat, today we're talking about Tornado Cash. So what is going on?
Yeah, it's super interesting. So yesterday, the Treasury Department OFAC came out and actually sanctioned a set of smart contract and Ethereum addresses related to this protocol called Tornado Cash. As part of that, they basically are saying that you, as a U.S. citizen, OFAC really, applies to U.S. citizens. Although I suppose anyone that follows U.S. law probably falls into this, cannot transact with, do business, do commerce with any of the named individuals. But what happened is they basically applied that to bank account numbers, Bitcoin addresses recently, and now this I think is one of the first times that they've applied this to. I mean, this is absolutely the first time that they've applied it to a smart contract, certainly to a whole protocol. So OFAC. So the quick information is that OFAC sanctioned the Tornado protocol.
All right, so how does Tornado and Tornado Cash work?
Yeah, so it's actually super interesting. Like if you've never used it, which is good because you would be in potentially issues at this point. You go to this website called Tornado Cash. You hook up your MetaMask wallet, and your browser generates a random password essentially. Like it generates this like long string of letters. You click a couple buttons which deposits some Ethereum into this smart contract, and your password that your browser came up with becomes your key to remove that Ethereum later. The trick is the way the smart contract works. It uses this thing called zero knowledge proofs, where you can actually prove, I can prove that that was my password, whatever string I got, I can prove that was my password without actually sharing my password. So that's the really clever thing, because I then come back a week later, 10 days later, a month later, I supply that same password, but the password doesn't actually hit the chain. A proof does, that allows me to withdraw the coins, but in a way that is totally obfuscated. So someone looking at this from the block explorer could see, a month ago, someone put some money in. Today, someone withdrew it, but there's no way to tie those two together. You can't tie that deposit directly together. There's some other interesting obfuscation techniques they use where they always use the same amount. So you create these tornado pools where you have like 10 ETH pools, 100 ETH pools, 0.1 ETH pools. Everyone puts in the same amount. Everyone withdraws the same amount. So you get additional layers of obfuscation there. You really can't see, you know who put in, you know who pulled out, but you can't tie those two together that way.
Hmm. So how does this potentially affect businesses?
Yeah. So here's where things get really, really interesting. It is unclear uh, what sanctioning an address really means in the crypto world, right? So at a very, very high level, if you get paid, if you get paid by someone who got paid by a terrorist and they can prove it, you're kind of in bad shape from the perspective of the IRS. Now, that same mentality is sort of being, or the OFAC and the Treasury Department, the same mentality is being applied to this, which is to say there's this notion of coins being tainted. So very, very simply, you can imagine that any coins that are pulled directly out of a Tornado Cash pool are essentially tainted. That's kind of the way people are thinking about it. What happens is if you then take those coins, so let's say you're one of our customers and you get revenue in crypto, someone takes some of those Tornado Cash, they mix coins through Tornado Cash, they pull it out, and then they buy your services using those coins. There's no reason you ever necessarily would have looked at this. I mean, you might have noticed if you're using a product like TRM, but there's also no reason you would have, because this isn't really a thing that we all do. So someone might have sent you, like, we get paid in crypto. I need to go check to see this. Like, we might have gotten paid in tainted coins. The issue then, of course, is a couple fold. One is Coinbase went out and they actually froze a bunch of accounts that had Tornado Cash deposits in them. So people that pulled from Tornado Cash, sent it to Coinbase, and then were selling it or doing whatever, they actually froze those accounts. USDC did a few similar things where they actually froze some of these sanctions accounts. That's the guidance. I mean, the guidance from OFAC is that when this happens, you have to cease doing business with these persons or addresses in this case. So if you're a business, there's a non-zero chance that you have some coins that are tainted. Now, it doesn't mean that this is the end of the world. This doesn't mean that you can never use those coins, because honestly, it's kind of, it's almost sort of, it's very ambiguous what all is going on right now and where all this sort of regulation is going to end up and all this kind of stuff. So it's not at all clear what's going to happen, but just be aware that if you've gotten paid tokens from a Tornado Cash address or someone that was using it, you very well, and you put those onto exchange, there's a non-zero chance that your coins might actually be frozen on the exchange due to the US government's actions.
So is this the point of the dusting attack protest that's
Yeah.
we've been talking about?
Yeah, exactly. So this just happened today. So this all happened yesterday. Today, someone came out and they used a pool that had 0.1 ETH in it. And they just started dusting. They started sending 0.1 Tornado Cash to a bunch of different well-known, they call it like doxed wallets. So people that had ENS on their wallet. So Jimmy Fallon got some, Donald Trump got some, Brian Armstrong. That's my favorite. That's like the real creme de la pièce de résistance there. All got this sent. So the question is like, if one hop off of Tornado Cash makes a wallet tainted, then essentially someone went and spent, I don't know, they spent probably $10,000 to do this, but they tainted a bunch of wallets. It's a protest because it really shows how hard it is to really enforce these old styles of thinking about these problems in this new digital asset world. The other thing I'll mention is that even this whole thing is just kind of silly. I mean, I get why they did it. I understand it. Like at Bitwave, we do think that regulation is good for crypto, and if it is well thought out and executed properly. This is not regulation, right? OFAC is not a regulatory body; it's an enforcement body. So this is, as always, this is regulation through enforcement, which we never really like. Like that always causes a lot of problems and ambiguity in the space. But second of all, there's just issues with this by making this action before it was clear how you should think about tainted coins. Now, did this guy just lock all of Jimmy Fallon's Bored Apes because he did this? I don't know. It's a really tough position to be in. It's a really interesting problem that we are faced with. But just everyone should kind of step back, think about what their internal response is. There are people that sort of say like after 6 hops, coins are no longer tainted. There will have to be people you talk to, your advisors, your lawyers, and stuff like that. They can kind of give you advice on how this should work.
All right. Anything else to add, Pat?
Yeah, the last thing that this might impact is DeFi protocols. So essentially, what's going to happen is that people who are picking up tainted coins might just dump them all into DeFi protocols, because DeFi protocols are kind of another form of mixing, because you put funds in, other people pull them out. I mean, you have high traceability between the people, but it's a form of mixing coins. So there's a lot of kind of discussion in the interwebs that people might want to pull money out of DeFi protocols and do other things like that right now, just to be on the safe side while we're all figuring this stuff out.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody.